Hey guys, it's Steve from Antics here. You're listening to Good Friends Better Running Podcast, only on the Counted Out 7 YouTube channel. Tyrone, let's go!
Well, it's Monday. It's time for a new Good Friends Better Enemies podcast. And guess what, guys? I have to dig myself out of this fucking hole that I put us in. You heard last week, we are doing Judgment Day 2002. My name is Tyrone. As always, I am joined by Jay. Jay, it's time for me to figure out how the hell to get out of this hole, isn't it?
It's time for you to grow up, pal. I think that we have ourselves a tall order ahead of us, but I have faith in you to book something quite invigorating and illuminating going into the summer of 2002.
Yeah, I'm glad you have faith because I'm not sure. This is the first time in the history of this podcast where I have written out notes and a match card, and I have physically ripped it out and screamed at myself trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do. And I'm not going to lie, I have that ripped up piece of paper in front of me as well. So if you want, we can dabble on what I was thinking of after we get through it.
That sounds fun to me. I'm always curious to hear about your, ebbs and flows of match booking, so to speak. And we have some very, very exciting stuff on tap today, ladies and gentlemen. We are covering Judgment Day 2002, as Tyrone alluded to. This is the first pay-per-view offering since the company has changed to World Wrestling Entertainment, and it emanated from the Gaylord Entertainment Center in Nashville, Tennessee. May 19th, 2002. It was a co-branded event between Raw and SmackDown. We're just coming off the heels of the brand split, but we haven't quite done brand-specific pay-per-views at this point. We have an attendance of 14,521 and a buy rate of 370,000, which is a really strong number for a secondary pay-per-view. Now, Tyrone, before we get into how we got to tonight's event, do we want to talk a little bit about WrestleMania 18? Because I feel like maybe we haven't touched on 2002 for a little while. Should we just quickly talk about how we left things at WrestleMania as well?
Yeah, sure, we can do that. I mean, let's go back a little further and talk about the Royal Rumble 2002, where I booked Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, winning the Rumble, which it wasn't my smartest booking. This is back when I just decided to do whatever I wanted and make you try and figure out a way out of it. Clearly, this is backfiring on me because I am now digging the hole out of 2002. But we had Hennig win that. When we went into WrestleMania, I can't remember how you had Hennig lose the Royal Rumble spot or if there was a number one contendership there. But at WrestleMania, we had Steve Austin win the WWF Championship from Chris Jericho. We kept The Rock and Hogan. We had APA defeating Billy and Chuck. We had the Outsiders and DX go 2-on-2 in a wonderful tag team match. I did have Mr. Perfect on the show, which is important to me. He faced Kurt Angle. We had Lance Storm and Edge. We had a Cruiserweight Championship match. We had Dudleys and Hardys. It was just kind of a fun show. It was what WrestleMania could have been, but wasn't.
Yeah, I felt like it was a really good show. I had a lot of fun booking that particular card. Going back to something you touched on earlier, and I just wanted to expand upon this a little bit. For those of you folks who are listening that are unaware, we brought Shawn Michaels back earlier in 2002 than he would actually return to join the NWO in the beginning of June. I definitely felt like this was a creative choice on our end, something that we were maybe fudging the numbers, fudging the timeline a touch here. But at this point, in my mind's eye, Shawn Michaels wrestling in August or wrestling in March, I feel like probably there wouldn't have been much of a difference in terms of his capability. His back was healed at this point to the point where he could perform. So I felt like for the purposes of our world, why not bring Shawn back a little bit earlier and have him join DX or rather reform DX to face the Outsiders in that quote unquote dream match scenario.
Especially because we have agreed on the fact that we need to pretend like we don't know what's going on in the future. So who's to say that we knew Sean was coming back in August. We decided that he was healthy. We brought him back earlier.
That's exactly right. And that's brings me to my second point, which is something we've discussed earlier, actually on the WrestleMania episode, as well as the Backlash episode from 2002. With Steve Austin, I feel like we've given ourselves permission to allow this to be the one time where we kind of maybe stretch the truth a little bit and change the timeline in the sense that we're going to keep Steve Austin around until his run his run comes to an end at WrestleMania 19. I think both you and I agreed that logically speaking, had Austin been positioned the way he was in our timeline in canon, he probably never would have left, and we would have gotten that last year or so of matches with Steve Austin. So just to give you a heads up, folks, this is kind of what we're thinking. Let us know. I mean, if you think it's kind of silly or you think it's uncalled for us to have Austin in the WWE for the rest of 2002, then by all means, let us know. If you think it's sort of sound logic and judgment that we're going to have him go through and finish up his run based on the fact that he's the champion currently, let us know what you think about that.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to talk to you about that too, is if we're keeping Austin going through 2002, maybe we don't, like, this is completely up in the air. We don't need to do this. We may do it. The Rock doesn't necessarily have to come back, because he was kind of brought back as oh shit, we need somebody without Austin. So they brought The Rock back for, what was it, the 2 months that he was back before he went off and filmed another movie?
Yeah, he was back at King of the Ring or a couple of weeks prior on Raw, and then he would finish up at some.
So we don't necessarily need to have him. So just keep that in mind, folks. He may pop up, he may not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here. I just think that we're doing a little bit of house cleaning here, folks. In case you're confused, based on the parameters of our podcast, we always make sure that we book people that were A, cleared to wrestle at the time, and B, were in the promotion. So obviously there are some people floating around that might be on independence or not signed to a major promotion that could come in and do shots. And so for those purposes, we bring them in from time to time, i.e. some of the legends we've had here and there. But for the purposes of this particular era, I definitely feel like the way we've booked Steve Austin, we've given ourselves permission based on that booking to keep him around.
Agreed. I think that we have cleared that out. And honestly, I'm going to say it, like I said before, back in the day, it's our show. We're going to do also what we want to a degree. You don't like it, whatever. I don't care.
100%. 100%. I agree. But we certainly hope you do enjoy it. And I am going to sit back here in my recliner. I'm going to put my feet up and I'm going to enjoy Tyrone's recounting of how we got to Judgment Day 2002.
So we got here really, really, really stupidly with a lot of things. Like, I hate myself for this. There's no other way to put it. I decided that a fun tag team would be Maven and Raven and dubbed them Team Haven. I don't know why I did this at all, but I had them going against Billy and Chuck. No, sorry, I don't think we actually had that. I think we scrapped that after we bitched about it and everything like that. But anyway, it's going to come back and haunt us again in Judgment Day. I'm just going to put it out there. But we had Trish Stratus defeating Lita and Jazz for the Women's Championship. We had a fun little match with Lance Storm and Kane, with Lance Storm taking the win. Raven did defeat Goldust to take the Hardcore Championship. After Goldust defeated Maven, it was a whole hardcore bullshit scenario, like always. Brock Lesnar did defeat Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, which really would have been a fun match to watch in real life. Kidman defeated Tajiri for the Cruiserweight Championship after Tori Wilson turned on Tajiri and aligned herself with Kidman. Edge and Booker T. We had the WrestleMania match on Backlash for the Intercontinental Championship with Edge winning. Then we got into my bullshit, stupid booking with the number one contenders match that was Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and Hulk Hogan. But before Kurt Angle got there, he was taken out by a mystery assailant. Eddie Guerrero turned out to be that person. He joined the match. Kurt Angle then came out to take out Eddie Guerrero, and our number one contender was then Hulk Hogan. We had Austin and Taker, with Austin winning, retaining the title. And then we had DX and the Outsiders going up against each other in a no-holds-barred match, which had the Outsiders coming out as the victors, with X-Pac re-debuting and joining the NWO.
Yes, indeed. We had all of that and so much more. A really loaded show.
It was the closest to a Russo booking that I have ever done.
I got to say, man, there was some really good stuff on there. I did really like the Hennig and Brock Lesnar booking. The triple threat match was a little bit convoluted for me, but I think ultimately the right guy came out on top. As well, I think that it was a great choice to have X-Pac join the NWO. So all things considered, the night ended on a high note booking-wise from where I sit. So with all that being said, Tyrone, are you ready to bring us into the next chapter of 2002 with your offering of Judgment Day?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. We're gonna go. Let's go.
Okay, sounds good. I am very happy that you are steadfast in your decisions. The opening contest on this card is on Sunday Night Heat, and it is William Regal going up and defeating D'Lo Brown for the World Wrestling Federation, scratch that, WWE European Championship.
So we're going to have two matches on Sunday Night Heat this edition. And our first one is for the WWF Tag Team Championship. And it is the Acolytes, the APA, defending up against Team Haven, Maven and Raven.
Okay, so how did we get the straps on the Acolytes? And secondly,
what are you
how
talking
are the Acolytes together now?
You put the straps on the Acolytes at WrestleMania 18.
Yes, I did, but you had Billy and Chuck win them back.
Oh, fuck, I did, didn't I? Okay. We're changing this on the fly. It's Billy and Chuck against Team Haven for the Tag Team Championship.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
It's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's Billy and Chuck winning the match after a very, very poorly executed, thrown together team of Maven and Raven. I love Raven to death. I don't know why I did this. I'm blaming alcohol back in the day, but here we are. So it's nothing to write home about. Billy and Chuck are still your tag team champions. It's a Sunday Night Heat match. It's probably going about 4 minutes.
Okay, that sounds good to me. The tag team championships at this time on Sunday Night Heat. I mean, you got to remember Heat was on MTV at this point. It was the lead-in for the pay-per-view. I have no problem with putting championship matches on the Heat show to bring eyeballs to the product.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
All right, next match on the card is the main card. So I'm going to let you go ahead and tell me what the next match on Sunday Night Heat is.
The next match on Sunday Night Heat is a rematch for the Cruiserweight Championship between Billy Kidman and Tajiri.
Okay, so we have two championship matches on Heat. Again, no problem with this, especially with the state of the company at the time. Okay, walk me through it.
Well, it's a high-flying endeavor, but we do have Tori Wilson coming out with Billy Kidman after aligning herself with him, which I thought made sense because they were a real-life couple at the time. They were married, so why not put them together as WWE does from time to time? It's going to be a high-flying affair. There's going to be a lot of offense between both men, but again, we're on a Sunday Night Heat match, so you're getting maybe 6 minutes. It's going to come with a Tori Wilson distraction, Billy Kidman hitting a low blow, hitting a shooting star press, and retaining the Cruiserweight Championship.
Well, I got to tell you that by the sounds of it, this whole match was a real hassle for Tajiri.
Yeah, is that going to be the word of the day again, is hassle?
No. I did enjoy that hassle word on the last episode, though. Gave me a real pop.
All right, well, it's time to move on to the main card and see if I can fucking dig myself out of this hole.
Well, no, wait. I just wanted to say I think that was sound booking. It made sense for you to keep the title on Kidman, I think, especially with the heel turn with Tori as well. Those two would go on. I'm very curious to see what happens going on until 2002 because I'm wondering if JB Noble might become a challenger, if we're going to see some Nydia interaction, maybe a mixed tag at some point. It's very interesting indeed where we're going with this.
Yeah, well, only time will tell. We got to get that West Virginia boy in the picture soon.
You bet your bottom dollar. So the opening match on the pay-per-view is Eddie Guerrero defeating Rob Van Dam for the Intercontinental Championship.
The opening contest of Judgment Day 2002 is Eddie Guerrero going one-on-one with Kurt Angle.
Okay.
So
Makes
coming
sense.
off the heels of Backlash, we had Eddie Guerrero attack Kurt Angle to take him out of the number one contendership match. Then we had Kurt Angle come back and take out Eddie Guerrero. So this is a continuation of the feud. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm putting the WrestleMania 20 match together 2 years earlier, but with Eddie as the heel and Kurt as the face. They were both kind of heels at the time, but they were both kind of the cool heels. Kurt Angle was getting the "you suck" chance, but everybody respected him. Eddie Guerrero is a fucking legend. He was Latino Heat. He had the mullet. We all knew he could go, but people just loved to hate him. So I thought, why not have them go against each other? And we're going to have roughly a 20-minute opener here, showcasing both of their incredible wrestling skills. Kurt Angle's going to hit him with all the German suplexes. Then as he's going for a third one, Eddie Guerrero blocks it with the leg around the knee. He elbows him, turns it into a Three Amigos. I don't even know if that was really a thing yet, but I am putting it there now. So we get that. As that happens, Eddie Guerrero sees his option. He goes up to the top rope, goes for his frog splash, misses. Kurt Angle then drops the strap, starts getting super intense, ready to go, goes to put him in the ankle lock. Eddie grabs the ropes. Kurt Angle is not letting go of it. He will not let go. He is that pissed off. Our winner, because of a refusal to break the ankle lock, is Eddie Guerrero.
Okay, I like this. I think it's well suited, especially with Kurt Angle's character. I mean, yeah, he's a face in this. I think that the episode previous, Backlash 2002, you'd referred to him as kind of a bit of a doofus, and I agree with that in terms of his character. He could sometimes come off that way, but then you look at like the wrestling machine Kurt Angle, which was probably my favorite version of Angle. We definitely saw that real, to coin a phrase, ruthless aggression. So I think that this absolutely is believable. It's a viable finish. And then it sets things up for down the road. Maybe these guys will be in the King of the Ring tournament. Who knows? But this issue, I believe, will continue.
Oh, definitely. The way that the match outcome happens, it kind of has to at this point. Like, you don't see that finish very often of a wrestler so pissed off they will not let go of their submission, especially in, like, it wasn't a main event. It was the opening contest, but it's kind of a main event attraction when you look at these two together. So I think that we're going at least another month or two with these two.
Yeah, it's a hot opener for sure. And then, the other thing too is, like, looking forward, we do have Rey Mysterio coming into the company, presumably in a couple of months too. So who knows how that wrinkle might fill in on with Guerrero, who he was aligned with in WCW and things of that nature. So,
Jay, we don't know that. We have to pretend like we don't know that. Just like we have to pretend that we don't know that Jamie Noble's coming into the company.
That's very true. I'm just talking about us right now in our repartee as friends, my friend.
Okay, that's fine, but we got to keep that in mind. We don't know they're coming.
Next match on the card is Trish Stratus with Bubba Ray Dudley defeating Stacy Keibler with Deacon Batista and the Reverend Devon. And this contest is for the WWE Women's Championship.
Next match on the card is for the WWF European Championship. And we have champion William Regal defending against Lance Storm. And I will explain how we have the title on Regal. So Regal lost the title to RVD at WrestleMania. It was fine. It was what it was. I wasn't overly happy with the booking, but you did it. I was cool with it. So what happens is on a Monday Night Raw, just after Backlash, we get the rematch. Regal wins, obviously by cheating with the power of the punch. We have our new European champion. Lance Storm then comes out and says, Canada is kind of considered part of the European Union under the UK, and we are part of the crown with the Queen and everything. I don't know what the fuck we actually call it. Is it Commonwealth? Is that what it is? I don't know. But he says that he's going to take it and he's going to make it the Euro Canadian Championship. So that is what builds up to this match. The match is exactly what you want it to be. A fantastic technical match between two of the best professional wrestlers in the world. The finish comes, excuse me for a sec, as Regal is digging in his trunks to find the power of the punch. Lance Storm gives him a super kick. The brass knucks that William Regal went to grab go flying in the air outside of the ring, nowhere to be found. Regal is dazed and realizes what had happened. As he gets up, he goes to attack Lance Storm. Lance Storm then hooks him with another super kick, locks in the single leg Boston Crab, and your winner and new Euro Canadian champion, Lance Storm.
Okay. I like this booking. I think the match would be outstanding. I have to tell you, in all honesty, when at first you told me that it was going to be Lance Storm versus Regal, I was kind of disappointed we weren't going to see D'Lo versus William Regal. But at the same time, match is great. I like the story behind it. I like the way that you've kind of explained how we got here. And I really enjoy the way that they worked the match. I like the Euro Canadian Championship idea. That's a deft touch. And of course, having Regal and Storm, you're not going to have two better guys in the ring, and different styles to a degree. So I think that, Lance Storm brings in a little bit of the high flying, whereas Regal was more of a ground and pound. So I can absolutely see this match being just outstanding.
Yeah, I was kind of happy with this because the way that we have been booking Lance Storm, he's still kind of considered a player in the game right now. He's a former IC champion. He's not doing the little bits here and there on Sunday Night Heat. He might get a quick Raw match. We've actually tried to keep him strong. So I thought the European Championship is kind of perfect for him at this point. It almost became at one point the other Workers' Championship when you had people like William Regal, like a D'Lo Brown, as you said, like an X-Pac. All these people held this championship. RVD example. Why not put it on another fantastic worker and keep it going?
So I'm curious as to where you see Lance Storm currently, because in our booking of Backlash 2002, you had some affiliation between Test and Lance Storm, which was kind of alluding to an Un-Americans type faction, which wasn't named yet at the point or at the time, but we were kind of looking towards the future that perhaps that might be something. Are these two still affiliated, Test and Lance Storm, or is that broken off now?
You ever play the WWF, WWE video games back in the day where every now and then somebody would show up in someone's corner and then kind of disappear and reappear? That's kind of what we're doing here. Lance felt like he didn't need Test to help win the title, which he didn't, but they are still friends, I guess is the best way to put it.
Allies.
Allies, that's a good way. Yeah, they're allies.
Okay, that makes sense to me. That makes all the sense in the world. The next match on the card is Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman defeating the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt, in a tag team match, actually.
So there's only one match and one match only that I decided to keep from the original Judgment Day card. And it may surprise you, but the next match on the card is for the WWE Women's Championship. And it is Trish Stratus, accompanied by Bubba Ray Dudley, defending the title against Stacy Keibler, accompanied by the Reverend Devon and the Deacon Batista.
I'm curious as to see where you go with this. I know that we've been really working on establishing a solid women's division, so I'm curious to see where you take us, my dear old friend.
So this match is exactly what you think it's going to be. It's going to be Trish pretty much carrying the match, Stacy doing her usual, putting her in the corner, choke her out with her leg, cartwheel here and there. I don't want to shit on Stacy Keibler, but she was not a good worker, and we know that. What it boils down to is it's the Dudley Boys. It's Bubba versus Devon, which is kind of what it was at the original pay-per-view. It's the first time that these two have really been kind of in the same building together since the brand split. So as Bubba and Devon are kind of chirping each other, going against it, Bubba does the right thing and walks away. He doesn't want to hit his brother. And as that happens, Devon turns around to an angry, angry Deacon Batista. He cannot understand why his leader, the Reverend Devon, would not say or not say, would not strike his brother down. This angers Batista, and Batista then lays Devon out, kicks him in the midsection. We get a Batista bomb. He just destroys him. At this point, Bubba Ray doesn't know what to do. He's torn between helping his brother and not helping his brother. So he's just kind of shocked. You go into the ring, and at this point, Trish is just looking around like, what the hell is going on? As that happens, Stacy Keibler rolls her up with a handful of tights. 1, 2, 3. Your winner and new women's champion is Stacy Keibler. As her and the Deacon Batista walk up the ramp, we have a brand new bodyguard and wrestler situation.
Very interesting. You know, it wouldn't be too long before Deacon Batista would break off on his own. Again, I'm not alluding to what's happened in the future because we don't know yet. I understand that. But yeah, I mean, this makes sense to me. I absolutely can see Batista being the heavy for Stacy Keibler. Stacy was good on the mic, so she could carry the team verbally in that sense. We hadn't really heard Deacon Batista say a whole lot at this point, so we didn't really know what kind of promo he was yet. At this point, you know, with the women's division being what it was, as much as I would have preferred to see Trish Stratus keep the title for a longer run, you know, with the Attitude Era, and this is still part of the Attitude Era, it's coming to a close here, but at this point, we were still doing a lot of hot potatoing of the titles, a lot of hot shotting of titles and angles and things of that nature. So for those purposes, and to be able to get Stacy broken off with Batista, I think I'm good with this.
Yeah, Stacy to me is kind of an unsung hero to the women's division. And hear me out before you start chirping me. She was somebody who put a lot of eyes on that division. Now, whether it be for the right reasons or not, it happened. She tried. She really, really did try in the ring. You could see her kind of improving. She's like Tori Wilson in the sense they really did want to improve. They were known to be working with Fit Finlay to improve their in-ring skills. So I thought, why not? At one point, they put the fucking women's championship on the Cat. They put it on Harvey Whippleman. Stacy Keibler is definitely a step above those two. And as a heel, we're almost getting kind of a Stephanie McMahon-esque thing is kind of what I'm going for. The chicken shit heel that finds a way to always keep the title.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, we never really saw Stacy as a full-fledged heel. The closest we got in the Fed, at least, was when she was aligned with the Dudley Boys. But even then, I mean, obviously, for the male demographic, she's an incredibly beautiful woman. So it was pretty hard to get heat on her in terms of her being a heel. And she didn't do a lot to ingratiate herself to the heel-like role. I mean, she was more of a valet at this point than being sort of an active participant in matches. So it would be interesting to see Stacy Keibler as a full-fledged heel and then have the backup of Deacon Batista, or I guess we'll just call him Batista. I don't know where we're going to go with this, but it really is sort of like the Shawn and Diesel situation here in that sense, right? She's carrying the gold and he's watching her back.
All she has to do is flick her hair and talk about how good looking she is while some big muscly person is behind her, exactly like the HBK.
Yeah, it's not a stretch, right? That's good. No, that was good booking. I was a little skeptical at first, but no, it makes sense to me. So,
plus, it can also help us with a Dudley Boy reunion down the road before it actually happened.
Perhaps it can. Now, the next match on the card is Stone Cold Steve Austin defeating The Big Show and Ric Flair in a handicap match. What do you have for me, pal?
The next match on the card is the next big thing, Brock Lesnar going one-on-one with Hardcore Holly. And I'm going to do something that we have never done on this show. So if you were to look at 2002, you fast forward a couple of months, there was a match on SmackDown between Brock Lesnar and Hardcore Holly, where Hardcore Holly had his neck broken. I am actually making an injury angle happen earlier. It's the exact same match. It's the exact same neck break. That way, when we get into 2003, we can still remember that and have Bob Holly come back potentially strong. But this is that match from SmackDown where Brock's going to go over. There's going to be the same thing that happened where he stepped on the back of his neck, whether he knew or didn't know that his neck was broken. That's where we're going here.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense to me. I mean, we can bring that up for sure. I mean, since we brought Sean back early and we're going to keep Steve Austin, I guess it's only fair that we can do this occasionally. I think we need to be careful not to do this kind of stuff too frequently, but at the same time, I absolutely feel like this makes sense.
It's also Bob Holly. I hate to say it, but who the fuck cares? It's Bob Holly in 2002. He's on a pay-per-view. That's his wonderful time right now.
Yeah, no, you're right. I don't disagree with you. I think that it makes sense to do something devastating on another pay-per-view like this. I mean, Brock was being built up to be, again, like you said, to coin a phrase, the next big thing, rather. So I don't guess I call him the next best thing. So I definitely feel as though if you're going to have this build progressively through the months leading up to the summer, then, why not bring this forward a bit and make another devastating expose on Brock's part?
Exactly. Let him keep demolishing people who are names, but not top names. It just makes sense to me because we're going to build Brock up. There's no doubt in my mind that between the two of us, we will have Brock with the championship at some point this year. So why not have him go on pay-per-view, keep destroying mid-card guys, and then make his way up? I almost did. Actually, no, I'm going to save it until I tell you what my notes were after, before I tell you what I was going to do with him.
Sounds good. Next match on the card is Edge defeating Kurt Angle. What's on tap, pal?
Next match on the card is Big Evil, The Undertaker, taking on Rob Van Dam.
All right, well, walk me through it. How did we get to this particular encounter?
So we got here because when... Oh, I fucked up. I'm not going to lie. I had this written down and I didn't even read it earlier. When RVD lost the European Championship to William Regal, it was also partially due to Big Evil's interference. So we're playing off a jealousy thing here, and respect thing, where the Undertaker doesn't think that Rob Van Dam has respect for the WWE. He is one of those bingo hall ECW guys who has come in and tried to make a big name for himself, getting over, whereas the Undertaker is the Undertaker. He's only WWE, WWF. He's been there his whole career, minus a couple of years that we don't even really care about. And he is just not happy with an ECW guy coming in and trying to make a name for himself. So we get this match, and it's a good match. Excuse me, I had to take a little sip of water there. It is the Undertaker coming out on the motorcycle, Rob Van Dam coming out to a big ovation, but something strange happens that we didn't expect, and we get a "Let's go Taker" RVD back and forth chant. Taker is kind of taken aback by this, but it doesn't matter. We get into the match. It's a brawl. Undertaker just grabs him, starts throwing him around. RVD is selling the exact same way that he should. He can throw, or Taker can throw, RVD can bump. We're getting that. Finally, RVD rolls to the outside. Taker goes to throw him in the ring, or the ring post reversal. He hits the steps, flips over. RVD is finally catching a break. As that's happening, he goes to pick up a chair. He goes to hit him, but something inside of him stops because he doesn't want to be that hardcore bingo hall wrestler. So RVD puts the chair down, starts giving him some fists, some kicks, rolls him back in the ring. As they're back in the ring, Undertaker gets his legs back. He starts fighting back. Then Undertaker goes out of the ring, grabs a chair, and just beats the living shit out of RVD with it. So therefore, your winner by disqualification is Rob Van Dam, as The Undertaker does exactly what he said he doesn't respect or understand: hardcore wrestling.
Yeah, so he beat him at his own game, so to speak.
I mean, not so to speak. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I recall seeing RVD versus The Undertaker, I believe, for the Hardcore Championship at the Vengeance 2001 pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And that was actually really a very good match.
It
So
was. We also haven't covered 2001 yet, so...
No, I know, but I'm just saying, for example, that I have seen the match before, and I think it's a really, really good match. So I can imagine that this match would be quite good. I like the idea that you got that kind of hope spot for RVD as well with the stair spot. So I like that a lot too. I think that it's well booked, and again, it opens up opportunity to perhaps do something with these two in the future as well.
Well, I'm glad you kind of like that one, because the next one is the one match on the card that I am definitely not sure how we are going to take. So why don't you tell me what the original one was, and then we will go into this one, Big Book. By the way, I want to let you know I have 4 matches left. I don't know how many are left on the original.
There's 3 matches left on the original.
All right, well, let's keep going there, bud.
Next match on the card is Triple H defeating Chris Jericho in a Hell in a Cell match.
Oh, the next match on the card is for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, and it is... You know what? I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. I'm going to tell you how we got there. So,
Okay.
Edge defeated Booker T for the Intercontinental Championship at Backlash. Edge has then decided that he's going to do open challenge matches. I know I do this kind of often. It's kind of my go-to. We haven't had a Texas Death match in a while, so we're going to keep going with open contest. So, first out is Eddie Guerrero. Edge beats him. Next out is Billy Kidman. Edge beats him. Edge grabs the microphone and says, "It just seems like all these old WCW guys want a shot at the Intercontinental Championship. Well, I'm a fighting champ. If anybody else from the back wants to come out, come on out." Then we hear some theme music that I know goddamn well my good friend Jay loves. We hear a siren go off. We get Perry Saturn walk out. Perry Saturn says he feels like he has been overlooked. He doesn't get a shot. He wants a shot at the Intercontinental Championship. And Edge, saying that he is a fighting champion, accepts the challenge. The match is booked. It's signed. Judgment Day 2002, Intercontinental Championship. Edge defending against Perry Saturn.
All right. I'm interested to hear how we get here. Now, is Moppy here or is she still missing?
No, we're skipping that whole bullshit. Perry Saturn's a fighting man at this point. Let's not bother with that.
Okay, but before you get into the booking, sidebar here for 1 second.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that when Perry Saturn was on Sunday Night Heat showing a milk carton with a picture of Moppy on the side of it, that it wasn't fucking hilarious.
Oh, it was absolutely hilarious. But for the purposes of this show, we have really not incorporated Perry Saturn into a lot of things. So he is not doing Moppy. He is trying to be a fighting man. He feels underlooked. He's trying to fight for it.
Okay, so I just had to bring it up. Go ahead with the booking.
The match starts with it's just 2 men wanting to fight over a championship. There's no brawl. There's no nothing. It's just a good wrestling match. Starts with a lockup. Edge turns it into a reversal of a headlock, which we get a hammerlock after. Shoot off into the ropes. Sorry, as I'm saying this, I'm literally staring at a blank wall, picturing it in my mind. Shoot off afterwards. Leapfrog. Another leapfrog. Drop down over. We get the old school run back and forth. And then it's nobody. It's kind of a standstill. The crowd actually starts clapping. They get into it. Then we get a takedown by Edge. Edge takes him down in a headlock, turns him over. We're getting a little bit of a wrestling match. As that's happening, Saturn fights out, gets to the ropes. It's just a lot of wrestling. You know me. I don't do the detailed notes that you do. I kind of stare at walls and blurt out what I think is going to happen. So as the finale happens, Edge is on the top rope going for that crossbody that he does from time to time. He nails it. Perry Saturn's able to roll it over and grab the trunks. As he does that, we get a 1-2. Referee notices the trunk pull. Perry Saturn then says that this is bullshit. He didn't have the trunks. He doesn't know why the ref is holding him back. Turns into a spear from Edge. 1, 2, 3. Your winner, still Intercontinental Champion, Edge.
Okay. This all makes sense to me. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad to see Perry Saturn on a pay-per-view. And the other thing, too, is Perry Saturn in canon would injure his MCL pretty badly. So maybe that happened in this match, and he'll be on the shelf for quite some time after this. But I'm glad to see him on the roster or in an active role on a pay-per-view. I definitely loved his in-ring work. And as you know, loved his theme music.
Oh, I know. You're a sucker for any siren music. That's you. You love the sound of the siren, the song of the siren. That's my buddy Jay over there. But I'm going to move into the next match because I have one extra one that is labeled here. And my next match is just a good old-fashioned one-on-one Booker T versus Kane.
Okay.
So these are two guys that deserve to be on the card, in my opinion. You look at how we've booked them in the last little while, and it's kind of been up and down. Like, we had Booker T as the Intercontinental Champion, but he lost it to Edge. Kane lost to Lance Storm. So they're both kind of on the losing end. So they've just been booked. They kind of are both down on their dumps. They're both trying to get back up. It's not much of a match. It's kind of the popcorn match, which I hate to say because they're two fantastic performers. Finish comes as Booker T hits a scissor kick, goes for a spinneroonie. As he does a spinneroonie, Kane sits up, immediately choke slams him. 1, 2, 3. Your winner is Kane.
Okay. Yeah, that I feel like the right guy won here. I think that we need to reheat Kane, no pun intended, a little bit here. Booker T is the type of performer where he can lose, I think, a fair amount. Same with Kane, actually. Both guys are kind of in that area where they're able to lose, especially here in 2002. They're able to lose matches, but it's not going to hurt their credibility with the crowd. Now, obviously, if we're jobbing them out weekly, that's a different story. But I feel like a few losses on pay-per-view is not going to hurt them to the extent that we can't reheat them whenever we feel like we want to. So, yeah, I'm fine with this, and I do feel as though Kane was the right guy to go over here as well.
All right. Well, now is when we have to really dig into what I did, and I need to figure out my way out. So why don't you tell me what the next match on the card was originally?
Next match on the card was Rico and Rikishi defeating Billy and Chuck for the Tag Team Championship.
Well, I can definitely tell you that I booked something better than that. So up next, playing off of our number one contendership match from the previous month, Chris Jericho has been kicking up a storm, saying that it's not fair. He has never gotten a one-on-one rematch for the WWE Championship since he lost it. Going off about how he's the first undisputed champion. He deserves respect. It doesn't matter that it's Hulk Hogan or anybody. He should be the number one contender. Cue our favorite music of all time, or at least mine, Voodoo Child. Hulk Hogan walks to the ring, says, "You know what, brother? Let me tell you something, Jack. You think that you're the goddamn number one contender?" Points to his palm and says, "I can feel the power of my Hulkamaniacs right here, and I can take you on anytime there, Jack." Match is signed. Number one contender. Chris Jericho's finally getting his shot to become the number one contender after losing the championship at WrestleMania. We have Hulk Hogan going one-on-one with Chris Jericho.
Okay, I was getting confused because that impression, I thought it was going to be Chris Jericho versus Harley Race.
You know what? I'm not the best at impressions. We know that. When you talk like Hogan, you got to talk like Hogan. Just like you mentioned the American Dream, you got to go, "The American Dream, Daddy. Dustin Rhodes." And I can't do it.
Dream, baby.
Exactly. Hard times, Daddy.
Yeah.
But, so we have Hogan versus Jericho for the number one contender.
Sounds good. No, that makes sense to me. Actually, I think that in terms of everything you booked on this card, like, not to say that the rest of it hasn't been good. I've actually rather enjoyed your booking of this card, but this match makes a lot of sense to me, especially because Jericho didn't get his obligatory rematch for the title with Austin.
Which he never did Triple H either, though.
Pardon?
He never did against Triple H in real life either, though.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying for the purposes of our multiverse, like, he never got their obligatory rematch. The fact that he had to go into a triple threat match to gain a number one contendership position was completely unfair to him. I mean, this is the thing that makes heels so great, is oftentimes they speak the truth, but they're so annoying about it that you can't stand them. Jericho speaks the truth. He deserved the number one contender slot, because, or at least a rematch, because that's in the clause of the contract. We've known this time for time immemorial. So for him to have to jump through hoops to get a championship opportunity would absolutely make sense for him to be infuriated by it. And now to have the definitive number one contender between himself and Hogan makes all the sense in the world to me.
So the match is exactly what you think it's going to be. It's Jericho selling and bumping for Hogan repeatedly. He gets in a lot of offense, though. We do see some lion salts. We see a lot of kicks. As excuse me for 1 second here. As Jericho goes to lock in the walls of Jericho, he gets him turned over, and it's old school Walls of Jericho. It's Lion Tamer Walls of Jericho. That beautiful, not all the way over Boston Crab. You know what I'm talking about. One leg kind of stepped over. But as that's happening, you see the brother hulk it up. He's not going to give up. Why am I doing the accent? I'm not doing that anymore. He's not going to give up. He is not tapping. He does the stupid fucking spot that they all do in these submission moves, where all of a sudden, apparently, he twists his legs and Chris Jericho goes flying. As that happens, Hulk Hogan's back on his feet, brother. He is hulking up. He is pointing at him. He is not going to let go. Jericho goes for the punch. Hogan does the one punch. The second punch goes to throw him into the ropes. As he comes back, hits him with the big boot. Goes for the leg drop. Jericho moves out of the way. Jericho then goes for a lion salt. Hulk Hogan moves out of the way. Hulk Hogan then decides to put Chris Jericho in a Walls of Jericho. It is technically a Boston Crab because it's Hulk Hogan, and yes, it looks terrible, but your winner via submission is Hulk Hogan.
That's an interesting finish. I think absolutely the right guy won.
It's a definitive finish, though, because you can't, like, Jericho's going to come back and try and say this or try and say that. No, you tapped out to your own move against the legend.
Yeah. No. I don't think it would hurt Jericho any, especially for his demeanor as a heel at this point. I think it would just add fuel to the fire of his heel-like tendencies. So, no, I think that this feels good to me, this particular booking. I think that, again, the right guy went over, especially at this time period. And I mean, as ugly as that Boston Crab would have looked on the part of Hogan, it wouldn't have been any worse than the choke slam that he would have taken in Canada against The Undertaker.
Oh, absolutely. But also, let's keep in mind one thing. There is one of the biggest A-list wrestlers of all time that has taken on a submission move that was made famous by somebody else that makes it look worse than ever, and that's The Rock doing a sharpshooter.
Yeah, I think he's put it on a few times where it looked pretty decent, but for the most part, yeah, I do agree with you. I think it might be to do with the fact that The Rock is so tall and he has such long legs that it almost doesn't ingratiate itself as a maneuver for him to put on. It would be great for him to have the move applied to him, but for him to apply it to someone else, I almost feel like he's too tall for the move.
Then don't do it. Why are you even trying to do it? That'd be like Dean Malenko trying to do a choke slam.
Just trying to picture against what, Max Mini?
You know what? Let's go old school for all the old school fans, and I know they weren't together, but picture Dean Malenko choke slamming PM News.
I was thinking Skylo Low.
Well, I took the high road, you took the low road.
Very true.
Well,
Very true indeed.
Jay, it's time for our main event of the evening.
Main event
What
on this particular event in May of 2002 in canon was The Undertaker defeating Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the WWE Undisputed Championship. Now,
So-
obviously, this is going to change unless you have these guys doing double duty.
We have decided that we are going to do a fun little twist here. So this is what I came up with. This is what I ended up being happier with. When you hear what I did, you're going to want to talk about it. Then you're going to want to hear what I did after. But you look at the end of Backlash, we had the Outsiders defeat DX. So the feud is technically tied at 1. We go to Monday Night Raw right after Backlash. DX comes out, opens it up hot, says, Sean Waltman, you're nothing without us. We were the ones who gave you everything you wanted. Now you're just a little pansy piece of shit. They actually dropped shit on Raw. They are pissed off that their friend turned against them and aligned with him. Remember, Sean Waltman was DX. He was also NWO. So we get the NWO coming out. They challenge them to a match, a 3-on-2 hardcore match. And Triple H looks at them and goes, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We don't care about X-Pac. We'll deal with him later. We want you two inside Hell in a Cell. They agree. The match is signed. It's Hell in a Cell. It is the Outsiders versus D-Generation X. Then we enter May 5th, 2002. A fun little thing called a plane ride from hell, where Scott Hall got himself fired. So unfortunately, we had to play that in the storyline. They don't mention why he's not there. Kevin Nash comes out and says, Scott can't do it. We can't do this. We're not doing it. And all of a sudden, DX comes out and goes, why don't you put your little bitch boy in there with you? Let's have that. Let's have X-Pac in there with you. So the match is now X-Pac and Kevin Nash versus DX inside Hell in a Cell.
Okay. This would be the blow off. This would make sense. You have the unsanctioned match. You had the tag team match at Mania. Now you have the Hell in the Cell. So chronologically, it makes sense. My only question is the Big Show still a part of the NWO at this point? Because when we last saw the NWO at Backlash, he had been a member. He had joined.
I mean, he's in it, but that's the point of Hell in a Cell, is to keep somebody like the Big Show out. That's why it was originally just going to be the Outsiders versus DX, to keep outside interference from happening.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the match is exactly what you think it's going to be. It's going to be DX targeting Kevin Nash for the most part, keeping him out, maybe hitting him in the quad once or twice so that he tears it and he's gone, and then isolating X-Pac. I'm not going to lie. This match is not a squash, but there's not a lot of offense from Kevin Nash and X-Pac. We're essentially killing the NWO right now. The NWO is done in WWE. As far as I'm concerned, DX beats them convincingly. 1, 2, 3, we're done. As that's going on, as the cameras go off, though, Triple H is showing off. Shawn Michaels is showing off. They're going kind of corner to corner. Triple H is ready to go. Shawn's not ready to go. He's still dancing in the ring, doing his thing. Triple H is like, come on, let's go. The show's over. Shawn then kind of pushes Triple H kind of slowly out of the way to keep the spotlight to himself. Triple H looks a little agitated, but he's fine with it. It's his best friend. He's like, he's just enjoying the spotlight. He leaves. Everything seems fine.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind this. I'm almost picturing the match going down kind of like that DX versus the McMahon's Hell in a Cell at Unforgiven 2006. I mean, obviously Nash and X-Pac would have more offense than that, but that's sort of the way I'm picturing the match.
It's kind of exactly what it was. The main reason of this match, now that Hall's gone, I'm planting some seeds of maybe some distension between Triple H and Shawn. Shawn might be trying to steal the spotlight. Triple H may not be happy about it.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. I mean, who knows? I mean, partners sometimes have have some tension, and then they get back on the same page, or they might implode. We have no idea at this point because there's no way to know where we're going after this. We haven't booked it yet. But no, I'm curious to see actually what happens after this, how we go forward with Nash, how we go forward with X-Pac, what happens to Big Show. I mean, I think that this is the way it kind of had to go. We've now done 3 pay-per-views in a row with this match, and it's headlined twice. Understandably so. It was a dream match scenario. But I think that we got everything we were gonna get out of this particular feud with all these performers. So yeah, I think you did a good job kind of buttoning this. I don't think there's anywhere to go after this for this feud between these two factions. I kind of feel like this is the blow off. I agree with you.
Sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. Once Hulk Hogan defeated Chris Jericho in that number 1 contenders match, Stone Cold Steve Austin hit the ring, hit a stunner, drank a beer, and walked away.
Hit a stunner on Hogan or hit a stunner on Jericho?
On Hogan.
Oh, okay.
So that, because that's the number 1 contender and that's the champ. You want to still have Austin on the pay-per-view, but he didn't have to wrestle.
Yeah, you know what? It might have been fun actually to have Austin on commentary.
I thought about that, but I didn't think it was needed. We were JR and the King for this pay-per-view. I don't know if I needed to mention that. At least for the big matches, maybe it's still Michael Cole and Taz for a SmackDown thing here and there, but it was mainly Ross and King, and we know their fucking chemistry is fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I was just spitballing since you mentioned it. But yeah, it makes sense, Austin being there. He was probably just waiting patiently and anxious to find out whom his challenger was going to be, presumably at the next pay-per-view. So, I mean, all things considered, the way it's looking right now, I certainly don't want to get ahead of myself because I don't know who's booking next, the King of the Ring. But by all accounts, it sounds like it's going to be one of the biggest dream matches in the history of the business that never really happened, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin defending the Undisputed Championship against the immortal Hulk Hogan.
All right. Do you want to hear what I originally did with some of these things, though, that angered me so much?
I do.
Okay, so I still had Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero. I knew I was going there no matter what. I still had Trish and Stacey because I wanted that turn. But here's where it gets fun. I had Brock Lesnar coming out and issuing an open challenge, because you know me with open challenges. That's my thing now, apparently. I had Hulk Hogan answer it. And then I didn't know how to get out of it. I thought it would be fun. And then I was like, I can't have Brock lose. I can't have Hogan lose because he's the number 1 contender. I thought about doing something with Paul Heyman. It just made no sense. So then I scratched that and originally had Brock versus William Regal, which I thought would be fun, but I wanted to keep Regal not as a squash victim because I saw this kind of going. It would have been, remember Regal and Goldberg that got Regal fired from WCW?
I do.
So it was going to be that, but actually a wrestling match because Lesnar can wrestle. So I thought about doing that, but I wasn't happy with that either. I don't know what you thought about that.
I think I would have loved to have seen the match, but I think I would have preferred to see it at a time where Lesnar wasn't just going through everybody. I think I would have preferred it maybe at a time where Lesnar maybe already had the title or something like that. So we'd maybe get more of a match rather than a definitive squash.
So kind of where Bob Holly was when Lesnar broke his neck.
No, I mean, I think I would have preferred to see a match where Regal would have gotten more offense. It would have been more of a match rather than, like I said, a squash trying to build Brock to be the next big thing. So maybe after some of those jets have been cooled in terms of him running roughshod over everybody and some of the matches become a little bit longer and more paced, that's when I would have preferred to see Regal and Lesnar.
That's fair. I mean, looking at these notes, I also kept Undertaker and RVD. I had Edge versus Saturn versus Booker T in a triple threat, but then I felt like that was just weird to kind of throw Saturn into that whole mix. Let's kill off the Booker T feud. I had Billy Kidman and Chavo Guerrero, but Chavo was a heel, and I didn't. And we have Kidman as a heel with Tori Wilson. I didn't want to do that. Then I had Chris Jericho coming out and bitching and complaining how he never was the number one contender, and I had him going against Mark Henry. I don't know if I was trying to build up Mark Henry because he was kind of in limbo at this point, but that's where I was there, and I'm glad I didn't do it.
Me too.
But here's what my main event was going to be. My main event was going to be Kevin Nash going to Hulk Hogan after the plane ride from hell and saying that they needed Hollywood back. And it was going to be a 6-man tag match inside Hell in a Cell of Kevin Nash, X-Pac, and Hulk Hogan against DX and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you didn't do that one. I mean, it sounds
so glad I didn't do that.
Yeah. I feel like we just mentioned, I mean, if the plan is, again, we don't know. I don't know who's booking King of the Ring, either you or myself. If the plan is to do Austin Hogan, I feel like it's way more effective if you have red and yellow versus Austin at this point in 2002. Now, if we were talking about 98, then I would say Hollywood Hogan versus Steve Austin. But in 2002, I feel like the red and yellow makes much more sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So all things considered, man, I think you booked a really solid card here. I'm happy with the results. I feel like you kind of corrected the course a little bit. Not to say that it was really that far off. I mean, the other thing you have to remember as well is with the Attitude Era and with this era of WWE, some of the booking choices were really strange. So I don't think anything that you booked was necessarily like a sin, to coin a phrase. I think that it was just some of it needed to be kind of hashed out on the next pay-per-view, which you've done nicely here.
Yeah, I tried. I really tried.
I know you did, bud. I know you did. You got your crayons out. You got yourself some craft paper, and
I found some Ecto Cooler High C from the fucking 80s, and just maybe that got me all jacked up on expired sugar. But that's where we're at now.
What the hell is Ecto High C?
Do you actually not know? It was the Ghostbusters High C.
Oh, that sounds pretty good, actually.
Really? You don't remember that?
Nope.
Your childhood sounds miserable.
It was a lovely childhood. I had a lovely childhood.
I'm glad that it wasn't filled with Kuwait jailbait.
It was not filled with Kuwait jailbait. Or, well, there was a lot of Vader in my childhood, but both Darth and Man They Call. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Tyrone, I have to applaud you. You did a great job booking this particular event, Judgment Day 2002. That one's in the books. I'm sure that we'll be revisiting 2002 soon with some King of the Ring action. We do have some WCW coming up on tap as well. I feel like we need to go back to Turnerland at some point soon.
Yeah, you feel that way. I don't.
Well, I enjoy Turnerland. It's a nice amusement park. There's a lot of rides, a lot of big budget, overexposed rides.
But never deliver.
Tyrone, what am I booking next week, pal?
You're going to go back to 1992, my friend, and I want to see that fun Kamala versus Undertaker match happen at SummerSlam 1992.
SummerSlam 1992. That sounds like a pretty good piece of business. I haven't booked 2000.
If the are not on this event, I may quit again.
Okay. I'll make sure to include them in the dark match versus the Repo Man and Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
No. You put them against the Bushwhackers, so it's a guaranteed win.
Okay, how about I have them against the Mega Powers?
I mean, yeah.
In the main event.
Okay. You're speaking
Texas
my
Death Match.
Texas
Death Match.
Would it be a Texas Death Match, though, or would it be like a Birmingham Brawl?
Okay, how about we make it a Duchess of Queensberry match?
Yes, 1,000,000 times yes.
Well, that sounds lovely. All right, well, next week I will be on the hook for SummerSlam 1992. I'm looking forward to that, coming off the heels of where we left WrestleMania 8 with Jake the Snake Roberts versus Hulk Hogan for the main event of that particular card. Tyrone, where can our listening audience find us on social media?
On Instagram at good_enemies, on Twitter at good_enemies, on Facebook at Good Friends Better Enemies Podcast. Soon to be TikTok. I tell you it's coming. I tell you it's coming in November. I promise you. We're going to do a dance. It's going to be dumb as fuck, but it's happening. And don't forget, for all things Counted Out 7, go to countedout7.com. Make sure you go to the Pro Wrestling Tees store. Make sure you listen to all the wonderful content that they provide every week, including an incredible and amazing Eric Bischoff interview recently.
Absolutely. I had an opportunity to listen to that episode, and it was one of the finer interviews I've ever heard Eric Bischoff give. He even gets emotional in the interview during Tyler's time with him. So I absolutely recommend you check that out. But for myself and Tyrone, until next week with SummerSlam 2000, or rather SummerSlam 1992, for myself, for Tyrone, for Kuwait Jailbait, for some delicious action on tap for next week.
I've never interrupted you during this before, but I can't believe you just said that again.
What?
Kuwait Jailbaits.
Why not?
Is this going to be our first t-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees?
I absolutely wholeheartedly believe it should be.
Oh my God. Anyway, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Been listening to the Good Friends Better Enemies podcast.
Mwah. Love y'all.